friends. We are here again, but different. It's not the same thing. How are you doing today? We have Laura, as we always do. We love Laura, and they are a must have in this channel, as you probably already know. But what are we doing today? We are discussing Happily Never After by Lynn Painter, the Sibs Book Club pick for the month of August, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, yeah.
It was a ride. How do we first tell a little synopsis for the book?
Yeah. Do you
If
want me to?
anyone Okay. So from what I remember, we are following Max. No, Sophie. Yeah, Sophie. And she is going to get married. And she doesn't want to get married because I think the guy is cheating on her, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And Sophie's best friend decides that it's fun to contract. No, that's not the word that I want. Get someone to
Hiya.
be the opposite. Help me out here, Laura. To be the objector
Objector, yeah.
on the wedding. So Sophie's best friend not contracts, gets
Hiya.
Max, hires. Yes, thank you. Hires Max to object a Sophie wedding,
Mhm.
and that's how they meet. That's how their story starts. It's a wild and interesting ride with two very fun housemates, and basically, in terms, that's this. Obviously, they have a happily never after, as you
Mhm.
probably know already. But yeah, how did you feel about this book, and how did you rate it, Laura?
I loved it.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
really enjoyed it. I had a feeling I would though, just going by your reaction to the other Lynn Painter that you
Mhm.
read before. Um, I went in like expecting to kind of love it, and I'm glad that I wasn't disappointed. My rating, I think, let me just double check if I rated it or not. Uh, I gave it 4 stars.
Okay.
So, sorry, I probably should have checked that before we went live, but no. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I'm not really sure now, looking back, why it wasn't 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, like, for me now, thinking about it, it feels very 5 star. So I don't know if something annoyed me, maybe,
Oh,
but I
maybe.
can't think what. I don't know what now. So yeah, I loved the main characters. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was interesting because normally I find in books like this that I find one of the main characters to be a bit moany and a bit annoying, but I
I did
didn't.
not like Sophie.
You didn't? Oh my
It's not that
god!
I didn't like her. It's more like I preferred Max to her a lot.
Right, yeah,
I saw myself like underlining a lot more Max quotes, more on the Max POV than I saw
yeah,
myself in Sophie's. And
right.
I think that the reason that I did so sorry to interrupt you.
It's
Just
okay, go for it.
because we are here, I am going to give you my rating for the book. I gave it 4 stars. So it's still pretty good. I
Mhm.
mainly enjoyed the book. You all know um, how I feel about romance at the moment,
Yeah,
but I actually was okay. There were a lot of things in this book that I wish they were more developed than what they actually were, you know?
yeah.
So that's the main reason.
Mm.
Oh. So, yeah.
I get that. Like, I understand that because I think it goes back to that thing. Like, everybody's probably sick of hearing me say by now that I'm very character focused. So if I
Mhm.
love the characters, I forgive flaws in the plot or not perfect writing, or like I forgive a lot in every other aspect. And because I was obsessed with the character, like the roommates, my favorite.
Oh,
We need more roommates like this.
yeah. So, oh, sorry, I had a message that I had to really answer, but I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Um, my main thing was I felt the story. I felt. And I felt this going back also with the other Elsie Silva, not Elsie Silva. Why am I thinking of her? With the other Lynn Painter book that I read and going back, and the main thing that I see is she doesn't develop enough her secondary
Mm,
characters. I
right.
really wish that we had more of Sophie's best friend, for example, because she
Yeah.
basically disappeared in
Yeah.
like the first chapters, you know? And I was like,
Mm,
okay, if she is such an important character for Sophie, why did she disappear
yeah.
so like
Easily.
yeah. And like she basically did this where she took out Sophie's best friend and put the roommates, which I found it funny.
Yeah.
The roommates are interesting, but at the same time I feel like she really filled the hole of Sophie's best friend with the roommates, which I don't think it's okay, you know?
No, I
Especially
agree with that.
especially if she was like, "Oh, we have such a good relationship, we are best friends, this and that." And then she basically doesn't exist in the whole book and I was like, "Girl, why
Yeah.
isn't she here?" You
Yeah.
know? Like advising Sophie, helping Sophie, and all of that. Like I just felt like Sophie's best friend should have had a much
More of
bigger
a.
role than what she had. Also, we know Max is a very family guy,
Mhm.
right? We know Sophie does not get well with her parents. Why didn't we had a story about that? Like, why did we only were like, oh, we are not in talking terms. We are just like, man. And I was like,
Yeah, and then they just moved on.
what happened for that to happen? You know,
Yeah.
those were the things that I feel like I am developing myself more as a reader that didn't sit well with me.
Mhm.
And I was like, there is information for me that
Yeah.
is missing. Like, what happened? Well, I know what happened for her to not to be anti-romantic, let's call it like that,
Mm.
because there is a song from a K-pop group that I love, and the song is called Anti-Romantic. That's why the word came to my mouth, my not my mouth, my head. But I was like, what? Because someone isn't an anti-romantic out of the blue. Just like, oh,
Mm.
I don't believe in love. I think rom-coms set up an expectation that is not true. You know, so something
Yeah.
must have happened that triggered that besides her wedding. You know,
Mhm.
so I'm like, I wish we had more background development from um, Sophie, but
Mhm.
also I wish we had more like secondary character development, such as
Yeah.
Sophie's best friend. Also, Max seems like he doesn't have any friends. This is what happens when you get critical with books. Oh, let me just say hello. Courtney, hi there. How are you? Um, can't stay because I'm sprinting. Oh, happy sprinting. We might
Yeah.
hang out later then because
Yeah.
we don't have any more sprints for today, sadly. But
Oh,
wanted to
we
say
don't?
hello. We don't, sadly, but it's fine.
Oh.
Everything is okay. So. It was a fun book. Don't get me wrong. It was fun enough for me to give it
Yeah,
4 stars, but at the same time, I
the
just
roommates were enough for me.
yeah, the roommates.
Give me a book about the roommates, I'll be well happy.
We will get there. We will get there. I Hi Katie, how are you? Didn't love this one, but I do. I also did really like the do-over, and I am so sad that her adult book was so. Eh.
See, I didn't realise that. I don't know if it was you guys that told me. I didn't realise that this was her first adult.
I don't think it's a first because I think these two that are on the back are her
Okay.
first ones, but
Yeah.
the other ones that she has, like Better Than the Movies, the second one is also coming out soon, Nothing Like the Movies. I think those are YA, and the
Okay.
do-over is also
Interesting.
YA. So,
To
I,
be fair, that kind of makes sense with this because
mhm,
it feels more YA.
okay.
Even though it's adults, it's got that. I feel like,
I just think it's adult because it has that scene.
yeah.
Those scenes, and those are not like comparing them, let's say, to Elsie Silver, which I
Mm,
think we both have experienced a little
mm.
bit at least. It's nothing comparable, you know. It's
No.
this one, if we had to scale it from 1 to 10, it's like Elsie Silver is a good 8 or 7, and this one is like a 3 to 4. It's nothing out
Mm.
to me, I will
See,
say.
it's the other way with me. I don't know. I feel like I'm seeing at all of your points. I'm pretty much agreeing with, but it didn't bother me in the same way.
To me, I
If
think
that
it
makes
bothered
sense.
me because of my non-romance loving moment.
Yeah, and maybe I was just in the right mood for it. You
Yeah.
know?
But I really
Um,
liked how, like, in general, they started this thing where they work together and they, like, kind of thought of the process. Oh, if we are there together, no one will think, like, one of them is cheating because we are there, like, as a couple, you know?
yeah,
So I really like that thought process. What I didn't like was really this, like, to me, under developing moments that I
yeah.
wish that they had developed better.
I feel like it's the like if this was the first in a series,
Mm-hmm.
it would have none of them things would have been a problem, except maybe the
Best
best
friend.
friend disappearing.
That
Because you'd be expecting them to be answered, like it to be
like
explored more in the next books, wouldn't you?
yeah,
That's
like
what it feels like. It feels like it's the first book of a series and it's not.
okay. I can see it though. I can see what you mean.
Mm,
Truly. Like the best friend thing then made me think like, oh, if it was me and my best friend, I have a new guy in my life.
mm.
I would obviously be talking with her like, "Oh, I have this person, blah 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 blah," blah," and not like simply disappear, you know. And
I don't know. I feel like that's a thing, especially when, like, I don't feel like you specifically, but generally when you're younger, when
mhm.
you meet someone, you're all about that person and you forget about your friends for a while.
But they are well in their 30s.
I know, but it doesn't feel that way. That you know, it doesn't feel that they're older. It feels like they're younger, which
That's
is
true.
why, to me, it just feels like a YA.
But I honestly feel like how can I say this? Like I can understand why you feel like they feel younger. They
Yeah,
feel younger because of their actions. Because
yeah,
they have not young adults, but they have adult works, you know? And
yeah.
I'm like it's very I'm not going to lower the rating just because of this conversation. because I really think
But
it's a solid 4 star to me. But at the same time, it makes me want to give it 3.5 because
yeah,
like the more I think about it, these things bothers me while
bother
I was
you.
reading the book. Like I wouldn't think of having like changing my best friend for a guy that you
Yeah,
know, which happened already, and I know it was the worst mistake that I could do. So I'm like, why don't we have her like best friend more involved, like more
yeah.
about
I
that?
think it would have been better if she'd stuck around and
Yeah,
been more part of it. 100% agree with that.
especially since Max and Sophie meet because of her,
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah,
like
definitely.
let's talk about that first scene where she's throwing not Tootsie Rolls. She's throwing something at the car. Like,
Is this near the beginning?
yeah,
Why don't I remember this?
when they, let me see if I can find it. Yes. Okay, I think it's before. It's on page 8.
Oh wow, really early. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh.
And she's like,
Did I read this one?
somewhere around it, she says, I need one more.
I need one more.
And then she says, give me 1 second. I have a project to I have to finish a project. And Max says, do I want to know? And I think either Sophie or the best friend, Asha, says, Twinkies won't hurt the Volvo's paint. So it's a victimless crime. That's all you need to know. Like, I was like, girl, if you want him to pay, you should like stab 3 of his tires because his insurance wouldn't cover it. But like at the same time,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? These were
I,
these actions. I'm like, okay, I can agree with you. They feel
mm,
like they are 17. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I would just get a knife and stab the tires because the insurance won't cover it.
Because that's what a grown up would do.
Oh,
I think that's why I liked it though, because it bring like the vindictive part of my brain was just like,
I get it, but it was Twinkies. Oh, but
don't
it was
waste the food.
what?
Don't waste the food.
Yeah,
Leave
exactly. It
it
did.
out.
Or if you want better, throw it at him, but not at the car.
Yeah.
Oh. Or if the suit was rented, throw it at the suit. He has to pay more, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I found it funny. I like that moment. It felt
Mm.
very teenage moment to me, which
Yeah.
is fine. Especially because I know Lynn Painter tends to write a lot more YA than adult books, and I think this is
Yeah.
the first one. But at the same time, I was like, "Oh, girl, what are you doing?"
Yeah. What is this?
Oh,
uh,
let's talk about your favorite part now, shall we? The
okay.
roommates.
The roommates. I
Do you
love
want to
them.
start?
Yeah, okay. So we've got a man and a woman roommate, and they are there. They're older people. and they are there because what's her name, Sophie, when she splits up with the cheating
Yeah.
person, then refuses point blank to move out of their apartment that she can't afford. So she has to get roommates, and these roommates come by because they are being threatened with being put in an old people's home and they don't want to go.
Yeah.
So they end up with Sophie as their roommates as the compromise, shall we say. But honestly, like, it's hilarious how they get, like, come together. But at the same time, I think, well, actually, at no way, shape, or form, at any point of this book, do I read anything about these roommates and think, yeah, I can see why they needed to go into an old people's home.
Right? That's why
Nothing.
that's why in the beginning I was like, oh, they must be like in Sophie's age range. No, they are
Yeah,
like triple her age, and I was like,
yeah.
I
So,
think
but
it
they
was.
were, apart from like the faking the heart attack thing. Okay, we're definitely in spoiler territory now.
Yeah. Let me see
Just
if
so everyone knows.
uh, you can keep going. Don't.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I loved them. They were such sweet people, and they made the book for me, honestly, because I did like Sophie and Max, but I think without the roommates, there wouldn't have been half the amount of like funny moments or like depth. I think any depth that was found in this book came from the roommates.
I agree because they made Sophie think,
Mhm.
and like I did not let's say it like this. So, my opinions on the roommates are I like them. They
Mhm.
were an enjoyable like set of characters.
Yeah.
I just wish that Asha, Sophie's best friend, was as well
Mm.
developed and presented in the book as the roommates, who basically
100%.
dropped in the book out of nowhere, basically.
Yeah.
Since the beginning until like the middle of the book, when we meet them, and middle of the book, I really thought they were like Sophie's age range.
Yeah.
This
You're not
goes,
the only one though either. What are you? There was a few people in the
yeah.
Discord that thought they were younger as
Um,
well.
Let me see. I think it was the girl that has monster locks on her.
Yeah. Because it made me question myself. I was like, have I just imagined that? Because it wasn't just one person missing it, because it was a few
Jazz.
people.
It was
Yeah.
Jazz.
Because it was a few people. I was like, have I just totally made that up? I
Like,
went back and I was like, no, no, that's right.
you didn't, but they honestly feel very young in the
Mm,
start of the book, or the way that they are presented, they feel very young.
mm,
But then we have them like wise words and some of their actions that to me are very like, oh, I think it was somewhere forward that I was like, oh, they are actually old people.
mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
when they were explaining why they were living with Sophie.
yeah.
How did Sophie meet them? Because Sophie met them through her grandma, if I'm
Hmm.
not wrong.
Yeah, I think it was.
Exactly. For because the woman needed a place to live, or she would be put in a
Old
retired
people's home.
people's home.
Mm.
And then the guy came because he went with the lady to see the house, and he was like, I want to live here also. And he just barnacled
Yeah.
housemate, basically.
Oh,
uh,
I
which
love
is
him.
fun.
Yeah,
But at the same
definitely.
time, I'm like, I wouldn't, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't know. I like them. I think the moments that they had with Sophie were interesting, but at the same
Hmm.
time, I feel very they just dropped in the book, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's probably how it was like missed that they were older, because they just sort of appeared. Um, but how did you feel about the bit near the end, where to get her attention he fakes a heart attack?
I did not like that because there is something that I deal with daily, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
I
was
was like,
thinking.
ooh, this is I understand this is a tough situation, but I don't liked how he faked a heart attack, especially
Yeah.
dealing with heart conditions myself. That's
Mm.
the thing. Like I felt very like it touched me a little bit more than what I wanted to because
Yeah.
it felt too real to me
Yeah.
to be just something fake. And that is
Yeah.
something that I have to take more into consideration when I'm recommending books to other people. I recommended a book, The Poppy Wars, to someone who said
Mm.
that one trigger warning for them is drug abuse. So
Right.
I really forgot that Poppy War had the use of drugs. So
Mm.
that's why I recommended the book. If I did like knowingly
Yeah.
remember that, I would have not recommended that book, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this one, because I deal with being afraid of something happening to me to that
Hmm.
dimension,
Hmm.
I felt a little skittish because I did not like how it was made. Just because he didn't want people to discover that he was making out with like someone a lot
Yeah.
younger than him, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
But
I agree. Like in the moment, I think because obviously it's not something I'm necessarily triggered by because I don't deal with it myself. It was more of an afterthought for me. I did think, oh, I hope Beatrice is okay with this bit.
it was
Um,
okay. It was not something that I was like, oh my god, this is like, what if something like this happens to me? Well, I was in a way, but I wasn't.
yeah.
But at the same time, now looking back, I do not like that type of representation. Let's
Yeah, it's diminishing the problem
and
of
especially a heart condition, and this is
yeah.
what I have been dealing with. It's
Mm-hmm.
a silence, at least mine. It's
Mm-hmm.
a silence, no noise disease. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't have anything that goes on to so I can know that, oh, I'm feeling this, my heart is in this situation. I
Yeah.
don't know that, and in a way, the book basically I'm forgetting the word, but I think she basically put like, oh, you can fake having something with your
Yeah.
heart if you don't want to be discovered. Like that's not true. First,
Yeah. That's
right?
not how it works.
That's not how it works exactly. So
So, and it's disrespectful to people that do deal with it,
definitely.
in my opinion. So, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought, well, actually, that's not something. Are there any trigger warnings for this?
I don't think so.
So, I feel like that for me should have been something that was given the heads up. At least in a situation, yeah, like my book hasn't got any trigger warning
I also
front or
don't.
back.
I also don't think it does. Mine. Yeah, mine doesn't.
Yeah, so I do think like sometimes with these fluffy romances that they over they get overlooked, like they can't be triggering in any way. But I feel like whenever you are talking about things that happen in real life,
Mm-hmm.
then, and obviously there's a higher chance of that in a book that is set in the real world, effectively. So I
Yes.
do think there should be, that should be a trigger warning. I do like, I know it's a bit of a conversation on its own, but I feel like they should be at the front, because as long as they're on a page where it says trigger warnings at the top, the person choosing to read it can choose to read that page or not.
Yeah.
It's not going to spoil it for them if they choose not to read it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just feel like because I now deal so much with having a heart condition, and this is not something that I want everyone to think, oh, she's just talking like whatever. No, I actually have a heart condition that's quite serious, actually.
mm,
Um, and it's hard for me because my heart condition is very much a silence, an invisible heart condition almost, where I can be fine right now, but in the next second, I can be in the
might
worst
not be.
situation ever. And this is hard for me to understand with this book why she decided it was okay in a way.
Mm,
But I also think in the other side, it was fine enough where
mm,
um, it was okay also.
yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't know.
I don't even think that she necessarily needed to just not have that in there. I think it would have been fine if, because how it started was he started having a panic attack, didn't he? And someone just misunderstood and thought he was having a heart attack. If at the
I
first
think
possible chance he had to say, "I no, there's nothing wrong with my heart. I'm just having a panic attack," that would have been fine. Do you know what I
mhm.
mean? Someone misunderstanding the situation, that's reasonable. I feel like that happens. But yeah, I felt like he let it go on too long. He was quite happy for people to misunderstand, you know?
Yeah, and then he used his situation to make Sophie see things, which I
Yeah,
think that's what makes me a little bit more on the being okay and not okay,
yeah,
because that situation was used for the plot. And
yeah.
just saying, you might be fine. We are just discussing it because it's something that I deal with and that
Hmm.
I might
Yeah,
have been okay with. I think if we didn't deal with directly, especially through me, or for example, if it was something that Laura deals with, I don't
mm,
think we would have been like, oh, this is not as okay as it should be.
no, no, it's not. And but the thing is, like, and that's why I think it should be a trigger warning, because I'm very aware of the fact that for you directly and for me indirectly, just
Mhm.
for the simple fact that obviously I don't want anything bad to happen to you. So obviously it is something that I think about, but it's not like a immediate thing for me,
Yeah.
whereas obviously it is for you. Um so like I personally think it should have been a trigger warning. But then there's lots of times that I read things that I don't get triggered by, and it doesn't even occur to me that it
Mhm.
could be a trigger warning for someone else. I think probably because I read a lot of horror and sci-fi and
I think
stuff
that's
that,
me with a lot of things.
yeah,
I just don't like a few things like sexual abuse and
yeah.
um,
And I
um,
know it's, you're never going to be able to catch all of the triggers. It's kind of one of them things, isn't it? But I do think like we're at a point that it is something that I'm sure that proofreaders and stuff like that would have picked up on.
so my take on this is also that I was in the hospital for 1 week.
Mhm.
What did I do during that 1 week that I had nothing to do? Because keep in mind, I am 24 and everyone around me was 50 plus.
Mhm.
Okay. And although they were all very lovely, I couldn't connect with them, obviously,
Yeah.
because they are much like double my age.
Yeah.
So I spent all of my days reading when I was in the hospital because of my heart. And
Mhm.
maybe a lot more like people are in the same condition or in the same situation that I was. And
Yeah.
imagine how are you going to feel you are in the hospital because of a
Mhm.
heart condition, a heart something, and
Yeah.
then they just make a heart attack beautiful. Let's say it like
Yeah.
that. It's not fun. I do understand how why it was used,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I think it should have been done in a different way.
Yeah, definitely done in different. I agree. I think it should have either been done differently or just not done
Hmm.
at all and used something else.
Yeah.
Um, and even like something like, I mean, personally, obviously, I'm not a writer, but personally, I probably would have done something like, I don't know, they got caught, and because they got caught, he was startled and fell down the stairs and hurt his leg. Do you know what I mean?
That
So
would have,
something that could be serious but ends up not being serious,
yeah.
you know?
What since it was a heart attack, it's always serious. So
Yeah.
and and the way that they were diminishing or making the situation feel less than what it was
Yeah.
just for the sake of the plot, I think
Yeah.
now having this conversation, that's what makes me a little bit more skittish because
Mm.
I do understand things for the sake of the plot, but not always, you know?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
But at the
I
same time, we
agree.
can say the same thing like, why does a dark romance has to have like rape situations and like stalking situations?
Yeah.
But they are triggered. People know
Yeah.
that those
And
words
I
are
feel
going to.
like they're things that people know that they're getting themselves into that, that it's very like they advertise it that way. Going in that it's going to be deep, dark, and awful stuff.
Yeah.
You know, this you would never read. There's nothing in the back. There's nothing in the cover that would suggest that. And even actually, if you think about it, some people take marriage a lot more seriously. Do you know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, all people take their marriages seriously, but like, there is that.
That's one of the
At
things
what
that I also.
point is it deceptive?
That is something that I also wanted to mention, like how anti-romantic Sophie or anti-romance Sophie is, and like I see myself a lot in her. I don't
Mm,
have the best like romance experience, like for the on the opposite, actually, I have a very bad romance experience. But right now, I'm happy alone. And
mm,
it's not that I don't believe in love. It's just that at the moment I haven't find the right person. But
yeah,
she's not even like that. She's just like,
no,
I don't think romance. I hate rom-coms. I hate like
yeah,
thing like the romance people portray. They set up false expectations. No, they set up, yes and no. They set up
mm,
false expectations, but at the same time, you are the one setting up false expectations also.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Going too far the other way.
yeah.
And but I feel like that was quite realistic in a way. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way when they've had um, bad experiences, and it's a self protection thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, they don't want to feel bad. They don't want to be hurt. Who does? Um,
True.
but I do. I don't know. Like I did. There was no moment of self awareness with it, really.
No, that's why I think I didn't like how anti-romance she was, because she was very like, after Larry, was it his name?
Mm,
No.
no. Oh, is it? Actually, maybe it is. They're not even mentioned in the blurb. I'm seeing every name except. I don't know. I feel like overall it's a nice. It is overall a nice fluffy read, but there's
It
definite.
was Larry. It was Larry.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
But there was definitely some criticisms.
yeah, I also want to say, like, for set, like what we were talking about, there was no discovery moment. The only discovery moment was like, oh, Larry's in the hospital. Larry says
Yeah.
something that makes her go like, oh yeah, maybe I love him. And then she
Yeah.
goes, runs to him like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But and then 1 year later they are marrying. Like,
I know. I feel like that was unnecessary. Like, it would have been nice to show, because I feel like that's something that's overdone in romance, is that everything like ends in a happy married situation, and you don't have to be married to be happy.
that's true.
So it's like I feel like we don't have enough. Like, there was another book that I read recently, the Carly Fortune one, This Summer Will
Mhm.
Be Different or something. I loved the way Carly Fortune ended that, because that wasn't like a everything tied up in a neat bow, in a neat marriage bow. It was different, and there was like time involved, and I feel like that's more realistic. um
I wish like they could have said, like, for example, 5 years later or something like that, where we could
yeah,
see that their relationship was a bit more developed. But it was like 1 year later and they were at top of a building getting married. And I was like,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Also, for the blurb to make such a big thing for Max's ex, that moment was the worst in the book.
What, hang on, what does his ex do?
Like,
Oh yeah, sorry, it
no,
come back to me.
it
Yeah.
was so. Wait, right? I think it was just badly done, that part,
Yeah,
you know? Like, for the blurb making it such like, oh, they are hired to be at Max's ex girlfriend. And I was like, okay, something is going to happen in that moment. No,
yeah.
it's just like, oh, I need to tell her so she doesn't get hurt and blah blah blah. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Is that it?
Mm,
You know? I was really like, oh, how sad.
yeah,
I did not like that part, especially the bag thing making it such like a big deal, and um like, oh, blah blah blah, blah, you know.
mm, yeah,
So
definitely.
I think we are almost finished, honestly.
Yeah, we're past the aw. We passed the spoiler section, I think.
Oh, it's just that I really thought that that moment would be much more
Ah,
like, For example, Sophie understanding, oh, I have feelings for him, and I don't want to see him sad because of another girl or something like that. No,
Mm.
it was actually the opposite of that. And I was expecting some grandiose, big, like some really like 5 or 6 chapters of that. We actually got like three of them just like
And they're not long
fighting.
chapters.
No.
Not
So
either. It's not like they're like 20, 30 pages long each chapter. I mean, some of these chapters are literally a page long. Page
it
and a
made
bit.
me it made me really sad. But it's fine. I just
Okay.
hope Ariadne is the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest bit um funnier, you know?
I think you'll appreciate Ariadne more.
Okay.
There's
Oh
a
my,
lot more depth to it.
I love the white.
Yeah, it's cute, isn't it? I like the shine in the foil. So this is apparently is the Waterstones exclusive edition.
Ooh, fun.
But other than it being a slightly different cover, there's nothing different about it. So
In
but yeah.
general, let's just get this on with. I think we liked the book enough that it
Mhm.
was not awful, but we can admit there are things that should have been done a little bit better.
Yeah. I feel like I liked it a little bit more, but I liked the vibes rather than,
Mhm.
you know, the vibes and the roommates.
I
Um,
also liked the relationship Max had with his parents. Just honestly, because
yeah,
one
that was
has such a close relationship. I wish we had seen why Sophie relationship with her
good.
parents
Yeah,
is so distant. You
yeah,
know,
definitely. So
but
yeah, I feel like it's a story. Oh, excuse me, that had a lot of promise,
yeah,
but wasn't quite executed
it
as
could
well as
have
it could.
been it could have been amazing,
Mm,
but it wasn't. Sadly,
no, it was good.
it was good. Yeah.
Mm. I
On
think
the other
who would
side,
you recommend? Yeah, go for it.
the do over, I was like, oh my god, this is the
Yeah,
best thing that I've read. You know,
yeah. So who would you recommend this to?
who?
Yeah, like it in terms of like what readers you think would like this.
Oh,
I personally think anyone that can just read for vibes,
yeah,
you know?
and doesn't mind some plot holes. Not really
Yeah,
plot holes, but missing plot here and
yeah.
there. But other than that, it's a fun book. Honestly, it's
Yeah, and there's some funny moments.
mm-hmm.
I really appreciated the funny moments. It made me laugh a few times. Um,
But at the same time,
yeah. I think I'd recommend it to anyone who is just a vibe reader, doesn't really care about plot holes and stuff like that. Maybe is new to romance. It's
oh,
maybe a nice way into romance.
not just any romance, but adult romance mainly,
Yeah,
because it's not
it,
that smut.
yeah, it's definitely a sort of it is technically an adult romance,
Hmm.
but I feel like it's more of an in between YA and romance.
Yeah.
YA and adult even.
Hmm. I agree.
Because even the smut bits aren't. really that sweaty, really. To me, anyway. I don't know.
They weren't awful. No.
Mm. So,
This
and personally, I don't like. I think I'm quite laid back when it comes to like um sex in books for young people, because I feel
Mhm.
like you know, as long as it's done responsibly, you know.
Let me
Um,
see. Let me see.
I don't mind young people reading about sex because it's a normal, natural part of life. But and I feel like if it's done responsibly and in a healthy way, that can only be a positive thing. But obviously, I know a lot of parents don't feel that way. um, so I don't know. I kind of feel like I would happily let a teenager read that.
Yeah, a teenage. I think I would recommend this to a teenage.
Yeah. I don't think I would necessarily recommend it to someone who is a seasoned romance reader
No,
um, at all, really. So,
especially
but
if you
that's my
are,
thought.
especially if you are used to romance a lot. I don't think um, that this would be like,
Hmm.
you know.
I've just realised as well, you're like fantasy and then romance are kind of your thing, aren't they? Like generally, not at the moment,
Um,
but I feel like you've probably read more romance than I have generally, because I only started reading romance end of last year.
well, this year I've read quite a few romances, yes,
Mm.
but
So,
I'm mainly a fantasy
mm,
reader, so sometimes it puts like fantasy romance and blah blah blah.
yeah. So,
But like my biggest chunk of books is read overall. It's fantasy.
yeah.
The words
Yeah.
were
So, but for me, I feel like until the end of last year, I
mhm.
was one of them people that thought that romance was basically PORN.
P what?
PORN.
What is
The
that?
word that
Oh, got it.
yeah.
Got it.
I can't say it because I know that it's one of the words that YouTube really doesn't like.
Oh, it's fine.
um for obvious reasons, I feel like, but still. Um so yeah, so this is like all new to me, really.
Oh, okay.
Whole new world.
But I get it. Also, it's not awful, but I
No.
do get it, and I just wish it had been a little bit more interesting developed.
Yeah, I feel like the characters were amazing, and if we'd been able to see more of the roundabout characters and had more interactions, then I feel like there was a lot of like being in people's head as well with this. Like Sophie thinking about Max and Max thinking about Sophie, but not a lot of communication.
Yeah.
And I like the communication aspects. Like, granted, I feel like having someone's thought process included is a good thing for a book. Ultimately, you can't lean on it too much. Like, it kind of ends up going the other way and takes away from the actual plot.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, okay. So, final thoughts. We've pretty much done them, haven't we?
I think so. I think we have finished most of the thoughts. I think
Mm-hmm.
we are just left to say what the next book is
Yeah.
for September.
So, for September, we have Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. Um, It does, if you're taking part in the Goddess Complex, it is a host favorite, and
Originally.
yeah. So so it we picked this on purpose to coincide, and the first sprints for it are tomorrow on my channel. So
Yeah.
I will be starting this tomorrow. So and I
Yay.
can't wait because it's a reread for me, and I really enjoyed it the first time.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
I'm looking forward to like picking up on the things that I missed the first time.
Ooh.
I love that. I love a reread. Um, so yeah. Is there anything else that we need to?
I don't think so. I'm going to go try to make Laura get into Aurelium next year.
Oh no.
It's fun. It's fun and it's quite easy.
I will, just for you.
Oh, okay. So we finished everything. I don't think we have any more to say. I just want to say thank you so much for coming today. We don't know what it's coming up next. We are still deciding and talking and
Mhm. Planning.
dealing with things, getting life situated, and all of that. But we are still doing the book club happily. We have a lot of fun doing it. At least I do, and I think Laura
Yeah,
does.
I definitely.
Um, so if you are here until the end, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And you are valued and you are amazing.
I want to get the eye hearts. It's not
Oh,
going to
it
do
might
it.
be because of your hand.
Yeah.
No. And I
Mm.
can do it because I don't have a Mac.
Mm.
But yeah, in October, we are going back to choosing books the normal way, at
Yeah.
least, but we don't know. We are going to talk maybe for next year and see how we are going to do things and what we want to change, what we don't want to change, and if there is going to be any changes. Okay, Laura, do you have anything to add?
No, just thanks everyone for hanging out with us.
Yes, same. So, friends, we will see you on the next one or tomorrow. Laura,
Yeah.
I
It
sadly
will
won't
be
be there.
tomorrow. Yeah.
But I will be on Friday on my channel. We will do late night sprints on my channel, which is not usual, but it will be different. And until then, friend, I hope you have